All right, I would like to expand this topic for discussion, further discussion, especially with the folks out there who I have been connecting with, and perhaps new ones that I will be connecting with. The topic of discussion for plastic pollution that's being exported to my homeland, home country, Indonesia. Um, there's an article that I just finalized a couple of days ago, and I'm going to share with you and post it in my Medium platform, and also perhaps in my LinkedIn as well. But this is a serious subject that not many people been talking about, and I'd like to expand this discussion, further discussion and sustainability forum. I think is very critical and is becoming a global crisis now. And I don't want it to go further for the next 10 years, let's say. We gotta have to come up with solutions. And in my article, I am trying to offer few of the solutions, sustainability solutions that perhaps many of you are reading it. Please do reach out to me, to our team, and I'd like to discuss how we can better and improve our efforts to solve this global crisis, ever increasing. There's so much talk about on that topic. So it's a plastic pollution, growing global crisis that is, and this trash basically being exported to Indonesia. And more so, I know this firsthand because I was just in Jakarta and Bali, and I saw this firsthand, talking to some local people. And this is becoming increasing, not looking not to we have to stand together, we have to connect, and we have to work together on this topic, on this crisis. We have to work together in this crisis, and then we have to have a global cooperation from all sectors, and the communities as well, not just in locally, but we're trying to reach out to corporation, to government sectors, obviously, to also local government in Indonesia, and perhaps all the way to Malaysia and some other countries that's been affected by this crisis. All right, this is Nicky Dare. Hopefully that you will be reading my article, and I'm here to reach out. I'm trying to reach out to some organizations, whether it's government, corporate, to find together sustainability solutions. All right, talk soon. Nicky Dare. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me again. This is Nicky Dare, another episode here, Leadership365. Glad you can join me this morning. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me again. This is Nicky Dare, another episode here, Leadership365. Glad you can join me this morning. Here's a topic that I really would like to share with you guys this morning. This is just a special edition of this Leadership365 because it is very close to my heart. And why is that? It's impacting my home country, Indonesia, basically. So this week also, I wanted to introduce you guys or announce you guys. I think in the last couple of episodes, I have mentioned it already. There's an Asian Pacific Islanders community event that's going on here in Los Angeles. It is going to be held on May 4th, a Saturday, that is, open for public, and you guys are all invited, well invited. Being an Indonesian ambassador, I'd like to invite you, and hopefully that I can see you there at the event. It is at Pierce College in Woodland Hills. All right, I'm going to share with you more details on that, but here's a topic that I want to discuss with you very really briefly here. It is about, it's I want to say it's very horrible. I know it's always like positive when I'm talking on a podcast, but this morning I want to invite you to the reality of just a plastic waste. It is an ever-growing increase crisis, around the globe. It's impacting the world, basically. And like I said, it's impacting my home country, Indonesia. It is a topic, I want to say, global accountability. Global accountability. The worldwide impact of plastic waste. And I want to be sure that, as promised in my last newsletter, that I am going to write this on my platform Medium or LinkedIn as an article, so you guys are welcome to read this article if you're not able to hear my voice right now. But I'm going to share with you, before I start here, a quote. Yes, another quote that I just made up. Original quote by yours truly. In facing this global crisis, united efforts are the key to progress. And each action is a vital step on our shared roadmap to sustainability. Again, each action is a vital step on our shared roadmap to sustainability. I just love that word, roadmap to sustainability. Yes, it was born out of pandemic, and I think I'm sticking to that. And together, we redefine resilience, and we turn challenges into opportunities. We build a future where collaboration paves the way to a sustainable tomorrow. I think this is a very well-rounded, I say, a call to action quote. And I hope that anyone who's listening to my voice right now, resonate with that. All right, buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, donde quiera que estés, quiero saludarte. Of course, guten Morgen, guten Mittag, guten Nafond, and then also bonjour, bonsoir, wherever you are, right? Bon après-midi, uke vous soyez, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, selamat pagi, selamat siang, I think it's selamat malam, where you guys are right now, dimanapun Anda berada. Aku hanya mau saying hello to semua. The goal of this episode, once again, is to empower you, inspire you, all my loyal listeners out there, wherever you are listening from around the world. with the tools and insights needed to navigate leadership challenges with agility and foresight in ever-changing world constantly. Change is constant, obviously, we already know that. So today's episode on Leadership 365, it is really brief, you guys. Global accountability, the worldwide impact of plastic waste. I'm your host, and Nicky Dare. In today's episode, I want to talk about this, the urgent call for action, holding the world accountable for plastic waste, especially in third world countries. Why is it so important for me? Because it is impacting my home country, Indonesia. I will make it brief. I am in the process of finalizing this discussion into our continued global roundtable roadmap to sustainability forum. Love to continue doing this, obviously, because it is a very, very critical topic of discussion, very issue. It's not just a topic, it's an issue. It's requiring really solutions, and then for all of us to unitedly, collectively, working together collaboratively and in partnering to making solution, not just in Indonesia, but also, those third world countries that are impacted right now. All right, that was a great 3 seconds, 5 seconds or more. All right, guys, your voice has the power to echo through the silence, and whether it is shared in a podcast or captured in writing, it can definitely ignite change, inspire action, connect souls. Let it be heard, let it resonate, and watch the world transform one word at a time. And this is my signature quote for each and every podcast that I have here in Leadership 365. Welcome to the Leadership 365 podcast, where we typically dive deep or snorkel deep into the topics that matter most and unmasking the truths and uncovering the power within. Leadership 365 with Nicky Dare. It is your go-to podcast for leadership development issues around sustainability. Also, I want to include that. Safety education. Yes, we covered that quite a bit in the past. And personal growth development. And transform yourself and your organization for a better future. If you are aiming for impactful leadership and meaningful change, this is a place. Leadership 365 offers the insights and strategies that you may need. It's a podcast for you designed to inspire growth. We love growth, right? And impact for sustainability, so you can create your best year of 365 days ever. So as always, good to be here in the presence of you and many of you around the world. We should continue this. The plastic waste crisis, today's discussion here. The plastic road for Indonesia is driven by a desire to innovative solution to plastic pollution and improvement, the sustainability of road construction. And I think you guys already know the end goal of this, right? That is the end goal. All right, secrets has been broken out there already. Guys, seriously, this is a personal reflection. My recent visit to Southeast Asia, and turn down the music in the background here a little bit. It's blaring and glaring. My recent visit to Southeast Asia, just recently here, precisely Jakarta, I spent some time there. Many of you already aware that my late mother had recently passed, and I went to visit her grave over there in Jakarta. It's her last home, and also decided to take a detour to Bali Island. Had a great time, just priceless time with my sisters and my son back in January 2024. Okay, so it did give me a rude awakening nearly 10 years since my last visit in August 2014. I was just there, right? If anything, it just gotten more worse. I'm talking about just the, I don't want to use the climate change. I want to use the environmental, environmental condition of the two, well, the whole country, and be honestly. The need for real-time observation was in the severe pollution. It was dense smog that engulfed the Jakarta, just environment, the whole air. The quality of air index is just terrible. It's gotten worse, if anything. So, and I also saw this, and my son pointed it out after I've just have a couple of conversations with him, and so it's like, yeah, did you see that? Just observation, obviously. Two-stroke engine motorcycles. It dominates the whole streets of Jakarta, It just emit immense toxins that continuously impacting the country's air quality index. This has the pollution, additional adverse effects on the local population, and left a majority with, you can imagine long-term illnesses such as birth defects and other complex respiratory issues. I had made a couple of short videos, I believe, in my social media. I'm not sure if it's on my LinkedIn, and back then it was when I still have my Instagram, which I not on, by the way, but I shared it in my I don't know if I share it in my YouTube, but respiratory issues complex, impacted by these motorcycles and two-stroke engine. In California here, it's been outdated. It's been outlawed, I should say, outlawed and banned in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, 2005. Anybody that, and we're all in four-stroke engine now. But two-stroke engine, why is that? Maybe because it's cheap. It just consists of 3 items, really. Your carburetor, what is it? The exhaust. You can look this up online. But the 4-stroke, it may be a little bit complicated because it has all of this air, fuel engine and filter. All right, so why are they still available, or dominantly still being used in Jakarta, especially? Just, my goodness, there's like back-to-back and inches to inches motorcycle and two-stroke engines. Indonesia still has two-stroke engine motorcycle in use for several reasons. I'm assuming this, and I think I might be right on this. Despite all this global trends moving towards to more friendly, environmentally friendly alternatives like 4-stroke engines or even electric vehicles. I think one that came to my mind immediately is affordability, is the price, right? I think the main factors contributing to the continued presence of this in Indonesia and just in Jakarta. I saw this in Bali also, you guys. A lot of Scoopy, a lot of Honda Scoopy. Is it Honda? Yeah, Honda Scoopy, I believe. I think it's just predominantly over there. It's a scooter, rather, because of just, the distance, obviously, right? A small island, a huge island, if you want to say it that way. But, it could be a small island if any of you have been there. But affordability is what I think came to my mind immediately, right? People can afford it. It's a two-stroke motorcycle, basically are cheaper generally, and maintaining it than the 4-stroke. And this is what makes them popular choice among the lower income groups of Indonesia. In Indonesia, initial cost and simplicity of the maintenance over the long-term efficiency or even environmental factors. I think that affordability is the main reason. Availability of it. Right, the two-stroke engine motorcycle have long history in Indonesia and really have been widely used for many decades. Many of the older models are still in operation because of this, right? Durability of these vehicles and availability of the spare parts. I think that's important. Any of you are motorcycle owners would know that. You want to have the parts of the availability of those parts, then you keep your old motorcycles, basically. And I think it's the simplicity and how it's repairability of this two-stroke engine with fewer moving parts than the 4-stroke engines makes them easier to repair. like I said, I mean, there's just, like 3 parts to make this available for you, right? Cultural preference. In some areas, there's a cultural affinity for two-stroke motorcycles. I mean, this is definitely a reality, when you're looking at these cultural preferences. Another thing that come to mind would be the regulatory environment. I know it's a 2 different worlds, obviously, right? I mean, we here in the United States, especially in California, everything is so many highly regulated, enforced that we cannot have this. It's been banned, like I said, many, many years, decades already, since early 2000. The regulatory environment, have been efforts to promote more environmentally friendly transportation options, obviously, including tightening the emission standards. These regulations are not always strictly enforced. There in Indonesia, the lack of stringent enforcement allows older and less efficient two-stroke motorcycles to remain in use longer than they might be in more strictly regulated environments. In California here, obviously, emission and, environmentally conscious and things like that. The last thing is really reality hits, resistance to change. This is very typical, right? Transitioning to newer technologies can be very slow, especially in regions where the significant resistance to change due to economic constraints or really a lack of awareness about the environmental impacts. And we can talk about that all day in my global roundtable roadmap to sustainability, obviously. This is a heavy subject. So I want to just jump into the brands that I saw over there, right? Motorcycle brands, the most popular in Indonesia or Jakarta. I've seen a lot of Hondas that's been popular, and it's been popular. Why is that? This is really reliability, fuel efficiency, a wide range of models that cater to both urban commuters and rural users. And you see this a lot in the heavy traffic on the freeways, on the roads, on the streets of Indonesia, Jakarta. Yamaha is the next one I saw. Suzuki, I love Suzuki. Motorcycles have been favored, really. Kawasaki, the Vespa. The Vespa is also there. KTM, not so much, but the Austrian brand is really gaining popularity by the off-road and adventure riding out there. Bajaj is from India. Bajaj motorcycles are appreciated for the affordability and cost-effective maintenance. And, I saw some in Bali, like I mentioned earlier, the Honda Scoopy. Scoopy is so popular that scooters, right? They're so adorable looking. I mean, they're just running around everywhere in the streets of Bali on those, really nice by the mountains and everything like that. But yeah, those are some of the things that I saw. I think, Jakarta and Bali. I'm pretty sure in some of the islands are pretty similar sort of observation there on a two-stroke engine. This is really, going back again to how it contributes continuously to the impact of the country's air quality index. So the pollution led to these adverse effects on the long-term illnesses, unfortunately, complex respiratory issues. And also, as my son also mentioned, I think his insights are pretty spot on, birth defects, and also just in health, general health issues, So I think the experience convinced me to really wanting to go deep into the root of Indonesia issue regarding plastic pollution, given the complexity of the current global waste trade practice. And I think this is one of the reasons why, after my recent visit, I want to revisit, look into it again, because I've been doing this. Obviously, what sparked into the sustainability discussions at the global roundtables, but this is something that plastic pollution is something that it's sort of magnified now that I've been seeing, especially after pandemic. Okay, this is a quote, another quote that I want to share with you guys. All right, that was a good little bit break there. On our journey along the roadmap to sustainability, let us redefine the meaning of progress. We're not just laying down asphalt, we're turning plastic waste into roads. Okay, now you guys know the end goal there. We're building a foundation for a greener and sustainable tomorrow where every mile traveled leaves a smaller footprint. I love that. All right, so moving on. Plastic pollution. This is an infringement on human rights in my country, Indonesia. All right, so we're going to get down to the meat here. So in today's world, the issue of plastic pollution transcends mere environmental concern, morphing into a dire human rights crisis. And I believe this is so very true. If you're listening to this and you agree, please do leave me a comment, your feedback, your anything. It might get a little bit controversial, but this is a controversial topic, obviously, right? And I'm going to stand tall and strong on this one, on this issue, because it's a crisis. It is an issue, and I don't want it to be growing, increasing to even more to the worst side of it. We wanted to collectively find sustainability solutions and solutions that is a win-win for every country that's being impacted by this crisis. Countries like Indonesia are becoming the unwilling recipients of vast quantities of plastic waste from developed nations, and posing severe threats not only to the environment, but also to the fundamental rights of its citizens, of its people. I don't think that's fair. So this practice highlights really a violation, unfortunately, of human rights perpetuated under the guise of recycling and waste management. Developed countries boasting robust economies and technological advancements and all of this great stuff, right, are paradoxically also the largest producers of plastic waste. And this is a true statement. Instead of managing their waste sustainably within their borders, these countries opt for a more economically convenient option, basically dumping its trash to other countries, exporting their problem to less developed nations. And Indonesia, with its sprawling archipelagos, I say that correctly, I hope, and limited waste management capabilities, and they are still in progress, continually improve itself, with all of the solution, has become a prime target for these practices. This not only undermines Indonesia's environmental integrity, but also its sovereignty. So, again, this not only undermines Indonesia's environmental integrity, but also its sovereignty. The influx of foreign waste significantly burdens Indonesian communities, and especially small villages, small remote areas and towns and cities. In cities like Bandung, for example, right? That's in West Java. Piles of discarded plastics from overseas are not just an eyesore, but a source of profound socio-economic and health problems. And this is very significantly. It is in reality. Locals are forced to contend with increased pollution, which contaminates their land, water, and air, essential resources that sustain life and livelihoods just on a daily life. These toxic byproducts of mismanaged waste disposal and incineration include dioxins and furans. Dioxins and furans, known carcinogens that can disrupt human endocrine systems and cause other long-term health issues. Why then do these powerful corporations from developed nations choose to offload their environmental responsibilities into these poorer countries, or third world countries? I don't like to say that third world countries, like, what the heck, into these less developed countries, I guess I should say. The answer lies in the grim realities of global inequality and corporate greed. yeah, I told you it's going to get a little bit controversial here. And I really am trying to not sugarcoat this, trying to share with you all of the reality, black and white, basically. Corporate greed and the reality of global inequality. So for this corporation, the cost of properly disposing of waste in accordance with stringent domestic regulation is a financial burden for them. But in somewhat, we've seen how some of this corporation would spend their money, hiring a third resources, like outsource their own waste to other countries. And basically that's what's going on right now, especially in the last 2-3 years since after pandemic. It's like, it is a smart move, but in a smart move is a one-way street. It's a one-way gain, basically profit gain. And I don't think this is I don't want to use the word unfair or fair kind of thing, but because it is not fair, right? But this must be looked at again by some other tracking agencies, and we're going to talk about that, by the way. And it needs to be enforced, fully enforced. It's great to have these man-made laws and man-made regulations, but it's not being enforced. Why do we have those sort of regulations and laws in the first place? It's it has to be enforced. It has to be implemented, and people have to go by abide that. Look up the word enforced. I mean, gotta have to do it, guys. All right. So by exporting their waste, they exploit weaker regulatory frameworks in developing countries, and turning a blind eye to the environmental degradation and human suffering left in their wake. Right. This practice raises significant ethical questions. Yes, of course. Ethical questions, and highlights a disturbing form of neocolonialism. I told you it was going to be controversial in this, and I if it has to go right that way, my stand on this, then let it be, because I really am looking forward to, finding the solutions for this for everybody to win, not just one side to win. And then it's causing it is a humanitarian, it is a human rights. Developed nation while promoting values of human rights and environmental stewardship at home. Like, hey, look at me, I'm doing something right. No, you guys are doing something right for you, but you're violating, these principles abroad, right? And then causing all of the other humans on the other side of the globe to suffer. And I don't think that is a right. This hypocrisy not only harms the recipient countries, but also undermines global efforts and the integrity of it all to address the plastic pollution comprehensively. This is a crisis, just like, the border crisis here at homeland in U.S. This is also a crisis, global crisis for the other side of the world, right? So moreover, situation in Indonesia reflects a broader systemic issue where international trade and waste management laws lag behind global realities, and the Basel Convention, okay, which regulates the transboundary movements of hazardous waste. Hello, everybody. We need to look at this, please. Is often circumvented or inadequately enforced, and allowing wealthier nations to continue exporting waste under less stringent classifications. I hope I'm saying that boldly. So the people of Indonesia are not passive victims in this whole scenario. There is a growing resistance among communities and environmental activists, and such as myself, who are calling for justice and advocating for stronger national and international policies to protect their rights. And I want to add this in my personal, perspective, insights here. Not opinion, because this is in reality where Los Angeles has becoming even poorer and poorer when it comes to air quality index. I think we're climbing to the top of the list of environment of the cities, of the state, of just, the space that we live in here, dumping all of this toxic into the air, really abusing the environment here, the environmental degradation. Los Angeles, that is, in whole state in California. So lucky us, right? And then we're paying for it so expensively, Somebody out there is pocketing all of the profit, obviously. Again, corporate greed and just a global and national inequality, basically, right? And it's just, this is something to be looked at, guys. If you are listening to this, I hope that you can reach out to me and then we can collaborate and partner how we can come up with the solution to everybody here. Okay, these efforts are crucial not only pushing back against exploitative practices, but also in fostering a more sustainable and equitable global community. You get my point there. It is important, it is imperative for the international community to reevaluate and strengthen the frameworks that allow such injustices to persist, and developed countries must take responsibility and held accountable for their own waste and invest, yes, you guys, invest within your own, space there in sustainable waste management solutions. Failure to do so not only perpetuates environmental injustice, but also blatantly disregards the human rights of millions of people in developing nations like Indonesia. So, there you go. Let's take a little breather here. All right, that was a good breather. All right, guys, I just want to conclude this in a way where everybody will look into this, and whoever that's listening to my voice right now, I just really want to appreciate you being here and listening to this. It is an important topic, important discussion that we need to continue to expand, more so further. So the export plastic waste to countries like Indonesia, I know I haven't mentioned all the other countries like Malaysia, for example, or India, or any other countries that's been impacted by this waste pollution, plastic pollution waste, or just waste in general, right? But I'm focusing on the plastic side of this. Is more than just an environmental issue. It is a profound human rights infringement that reflects the darker sides of global inequality and corporate profit strategies. The world must not turn a blind eye to this controversial practice that places disproportionate burdens on less wealthy nations and their citizens, their people. I hope that can sink in today's episode. All right, that's a lot of things to digest there. But most importantly, you guys, this is about long-term effect on not just the environmental degradation, but also, long-term health risk. And I want to, share with you my thoughts on this, my insights, and they happen to be very in touch with reality. Okay, so the issue of plastic waste export to countries like Indonesia does pose serious environmental and human rights concern. Developed nations such as those in, I'm going to shout it out here, European Union and United States export significant amounts of plastic waste to Indonesia, exploiting weaker regulatory frameworks and lower processing costs, prices in the country. In 2020 alone, plastic waste imports from OECD countries accounted for over 60% of Indonesia total import of plastic waste. The major contributors, including the Netherlands, Germany, Japan, United States, and Slovenia. Sources are in Wikipedia, Indonesia, or any other credible sources out there, and online. So Indonesia is grappling with this influx amidst its own substantial challenges in waste management. Indonesia produces around 200,000 tons of rubbish daily. 200,000, with a significant portion of this being plastic waste that is inadequately managed, leading to severe environmental degradation. So the Indonesian government has taken steps to combat this crisis, such as setting ambitious targets to reduce plastic waste, introducing regulation to manage household and marine debris more effectively. There are a lot of credible sources out there too that you might want to connect and find online. The environmental impact of this situation is very profound. Of this whole situation is very profound. So Indonesian rivers such as the Bratas, Solo rank among the world's most polluted, largely due to plastic waste. And I saw this in Jakarta itself, by the way, around the coastline, very unfortunately. Bali as well, but not so much in a tourist environment, obviously, but off the areas of the tourists. The country's coastline and marine environments suffer similarly, with millions of tons of plastic waste entering the ocean annually, significantly, maybe not bi-weekly or monthly, sadly, significantly harming marine life and the livelihoods of local communities who depend on this ecosystem. Calls for action have been growing louder, clear, and loud, with environmental groups advocating for stricter international regulations on plastic waste trade. The Basel Convention, which oversees the control of transboundary movements, like I said, mention of hazardous wastes, includes amendments intended to restrict the export of plastic waste to non-OECD countries. But sadly enough, the implementation and enforcement remain inconsistent, as we all know in reality. And the U.S., a major producer of plastic waste, of course, has not ratified these amendments. Again, there are a lot of credible sources that you might want to look at. So the global community, particularly a nation that produced the bulk of this world plastic waste, must take responsibility, must be held accountable for managing their own waste sustainably. And this includes investing in recycling technologies. I know it's expensive, but you all can invest that, right? And reducing the production of plastics rather than exporting the waste to a less wealthy nation. How cruel is that? Think about that. Instead of taking care of your own backyard, your own home country, you just like, okay, we're going to spend a little bit more money exporting the waste, dumping it to somebody else. This approach not only really, technically speaking, is down to that. This approach not only addresses the environmental impact, but also upholds the human rights to those living in countries like Indonesia, who should not bear the brunt of this global consumption habits. Is this even legal? We ask. Well, here are some of the personal insights, and then this is all reality. The legality of exporting plastic waste from developed to developing countries like Indonesia is complex and heavily regulated under international agreements, like we already know this Basel Convention, because such as this is as of January 2021. The Basel Convention imposes strict controls on the transboundary movement of plastic waste, right? Requiring prior notice and consent for waste, for most types of plastic scrap and waste destined for recycling or disposal. This includes both hazardous and some non-hazardous plastic waste, with the aim to prevent environmental damage and human rights abuses receiving countries. Again, there are a lot of credible resources on this. So despite this regulation, there are significant issues with compliance, obviously, and enforcement. Reports indicates that violation of these regulations are rampant, of course, with developed countries. I mean, we're talking about the EU, European Union, and the US, often failing to meet the required standards because nobody's looking. No one is really. I mean, they know they're aware of this, right? The trackers, right? Because they have this in the system. But they're looking at the other way. Why is that? Because there's profit making in there. So shame on you guys. Often failing to meet the required standards for plastic waste purity and sorting.
The result in large quantities of contaminated and mixed plastic waste being illegally exported to countries that lack the infrastructure to manage it properly, leading to environmental and health problems. Yes, there are also credible resources. You guys might want to look into it. So the EU, European Union, has taken steps to tighten its regulations, banning the export to unsorted and hazardous plastic waste to non-OECD countries and setting specific conditions for exporting cleaner plastic waste intended for recycling. So these measures are part of a broader effort to basically adhere to this convention amendments and to address the criticism related to global plastic waste trade. And I'm going to continue to speak up about this, to speak loud and clear about this. And yes, there are credible resources, what I just stated with you. So the whole thing here in summary, while the export of plastic waste is legal under certain conditions, okay, the reality is marked by frequent violations and inadequate enforcement, which undermines the intended protections of all of these international laws and agreements. This has ongoing detrimental effects on countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, all of these are being dumped on the trash, right, from overseas, which suffer from the environmental, the degradation and health impacts of mismanaged plastic waste. I want to share this portion of the legality, so you guys, I'm not just talking my out of my brain out and things like that, right? Out of my resources and research and things like this. And I am still continuing to speak up on this topic, on this discussion, because I myself don't want to see other countries to be abused and used, taken advantage of. I've seen it in wherever I travel, in small villages. They take pride, like Baja, for example, or more in small islands, like Laredo, for example. These places in small fishing villages, they take pride. They will enforce these things, and they will not allow any tourists to come or any fishermen to come to their village to fish and abuse their beautiful island. And I want to take note on this, and I wish to see this happening also in small villages in Indonesia. And I am going to take a stand. I'm taking a stand on this. It's not right. Indonesia has been a significant destination for global plastic waste imports, particularly from OECD countries. In 2020, these imports accounted for over 62%. I said like 60%, I think, earlier, right? 62% of Indonesia total plastic waste imports. And the contributions, come from countries like Netherlands, Germany, Japan, US, Slovenia, all of these things. All right, so I'm going to end this here. I want to address these challenges, obviously, and enhancing global cooperation on waste management, reducing the reliance on plastic are very crucial, very critical. So discussion in platforms like my global roundtables on the roadmap to sustainability can play really a pivotal role. This discussion in my global roundtables can help formulate and propagate solutions that not only aim at reducing the intake of foreign plastic waste, but also improve domestic practices around waste management, so everybody can win, not just at home here in the US, where I'm at in California and Los Angeles, but also my home country in Indonesia, across the other side of the world. So these data points that I share with you guys and the ongoing conversations underscore the urgent need for integrated global efforts to tackle the issue of plastic pollution from multiple angles, including the policy adjustments. I hope that's going to happen, continue to. Investment in waste processing infrastructure, that's very critical. And international agreements that hold countries accountable for their environmental practices. And for more detailed statistics and insights into this global plastic waste management, please do explore the credible resources that I share with you that I had depicted from is Our World in Data. Our World in Data is a great resources, credible resources, would provide a comprehensive overview. they have all kinds of just, a lot of details in this, extensive resources provided by them, data, insight into global plastic waste management. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and it has been very insightful. And I hope that we're all going to take our small call to action, small steps can make a big difference, obviously. And don't forget to also, leave me your comment on today's episode. And I want to mention also, and I had mentioned it already at the beginning of this episode, about the small event that we have here in Los Angeles coming up here on May 4th. It is an Asian and Pacific Islanders cultural community event that you're all invited. It's going to be held at Pierce College, May 4th. That is on a Saturday. And I'm going to leave you the flyer with this podcast, and also the article that I'm going to share with you on Medium and LinkedIn. We can use, sponsorship, obviously, and we can use you guys to come in for free. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring your neighbors, bring anybody that is going to enjoy and appreciate and value this event. It is sponsored and hosted by Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce. My good friend Diana Williams probably listening to this, and I can't wait to see her again at this event. And as an Indonesian ambassador, pride and joy to being an Indonesian, obviously. And I hope to see you guys there. All right, this is Nicky Dare. I hope that you stay well. I told you it's going to be a short one. And let's take a call to action on this plastic pollution global crisis here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the weekend.